Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Radha Girari Radha Girari Radhe Jai Radha Girari Radha Girdhari Radhe Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jamvishpad Paramahamsa Prabhajikacharya Sotra Sata Shishima Desi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON founder Charya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthani Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaur Vani Pacharne Nivishesha Shinwadi Paschadistane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Getting to hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, Chapter 30. Thank you. Activities of the Prachetas, text number 33. It's 34 actually. Yeah, it's 34. Got the right verse up. Yavat te maya sprishta. Yavat te maya sprishta. Brahmama iha karmabhi. Brahmama iha karmabhi. Tavad bhavat prasanganam. Tavat bhavat prasanganam. Sangha shan now bhave bhave. Sangha shano bhave bhave. Yavate maya sprishta. Brahmama ikarmabhi. Tavad bhavat prasanganam. Sangha shana bhave bhave. Yavate maya sprishta. Brahmama ikarmabhi. Tavad bhavat prasanganam. Sangha syana bhave bhave. Yavate maya sprishta. Brahmama ikarmabhi. Tavat bhavat prasanganam. Syano bhave bhave. Yavate maya sprishta. Brahmama ikarmabhi. Tavat bhavat prasanganam. Sangha shano bhave bhave. Yavate maya sprishta. Brahmama ikarmabhi. Tavat bhavat prasanganam. Sangha shano bhave bhave. Yavate maya sprishta. Brahmama ikarmabhi. Tavat bhavat prasanganam. Sangha shano bhave bhave. Yavat, as long as, te, your, maya, by the illusory energy, sprishta, contaminated, brahmama, we wander, iha, in this material world, karma bhi, by the reactions of fruitive activities, tavat, so long, bhavat prasanganam, of your loving devotees, sangha, association, shat, let there be, na, our, bhave, bhave, in every species of life. Translation. Dear Lord, as long as we have to remain within this material world due to our material contamination and wander from one type of body to another and from one planet to another, we pray that we may associate with those who are engaged in discussing your pastimes. We pray for this benediction life after life in different bodily forms and on different planets. Such a nice prayer. Let's please repeat. Dear Lord, as long as we have to remain within this material world due to our material contamination and wander from one type of body to another and from one planet to another, we pray that we may associate with those who are engaged in discussing your pastimes. We pray for this benediction life after life in different bodily forms and on different planets. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. This is the best benediction that a devotee can ask of the Supreme Lord. Did everybody note that? What's the best thing you can ask from Krishna? This is the best benediction that a devotee can ask of the Supreme Lord. This is also confirmed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Stane stita shruti gatam tanuvan manobi. Bhagavatam 10:14-3. One may be in one position or another according to destiny, but in any case, one must continue to hear about the activities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord, regardless of circumstances. A pure devotee does not pray for liberation or for cessation of the cycle of birth and death, because he does not consider that important. The most important thing for a devotee is getting a chance to hear about the pastimes and glories of the Lord. The most important thing for a devotee is getting a chance to hear about the pastimes and glories of the Lord. The devotees who engage in the service of the Lord in this world will have the same opportunity in the spiritual world also. Thus, for a devotee, everything is in the spiritual world. For as long as he can hear about the pastimes of the Lord, or whatever he can chant, the Lord's person, or wherever, thank you. Thus, for a devotee, everything is in the spiritual world. For as long as he can hear about the pastimes of the Lord, or wherever he can chant, the Lord is personally present. Tatra tishtami narada yatra gayanti madbhaktaha. When the pure devotees assemble to chant, hear, and talk about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the place where they assemble becomes Vaikuntha. For the devotee, there's no need to pray to the Lord for transferal to the Vaikuntha world. A pure devotee can create Vaikuntha or Vrindavan anywhere, simply by chanting the glories of the Lord without offense. The Prachetas pray for an opportunity to hear the glories of the Lord in every form of life. Bhave, bhave. A living entity transmigrates from one body to another. The devotee is not particularly eager to stop this process. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prays, Mama Janmani Janmanishvare Bhavatad Bhakti Rahaiti Ki Twayi. My dear Lord, life after life, may I be fixed in your pure devotional service. Out of humility, a devotee considers himself unfit to be transferred to the spiritual world. He always thinks himself contaminated by the modes of material nature. Nor is there any need for a devotee to ask to be freed from the modes of material nature. Devotional service itself is in the transitional position. Therefore, there's no question of asking for this special facility. The conclusion is that a pure devotee is not anxious to stop the repetition of birth and death, but is always eager to associate with other devotees who are engaged in chanting and hearing about the glories of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada ki. Could we please pray for some mercy? Om Jnana Timirandasya Gnanjana Salakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shakan Vitam Sha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. If this is the best benediction that a devotee can ask for, came just a touch late. I'm so happy to see you here. Welcome and good morning. But the best benediction that a devotee can ask for is to be allowed to have the company of devotees and to engage in hearing and chanting, to hear from them the glories of the Lord. The pure devotees don't even pray to be delivered from this cycle of birth and death. They don't pray for the aches and pains of the body to be relieved. They don't pray for protect me from potential danger of disease or anything of this world. They just pray to be able to have devotee company and hear the glories of the Lord, chant the glories of the Lord, remember the glories of the Lord, and serve the devotees in the Lord. If we can let that sink in, we can see how very fortunate we are to be sitting here in Srimad Bhagavatam class. The desire to hear the glories of the Lord should be greater than the desire to eat, to sleep, to engage in sense gratification, to be overly concerned about maintenance of the body. The desire to hear. This is the beginning. This is how the seed of devotional service is planted within the heart, that one gets to hear from a pure devotee. The transcendental sound vibration which cracks through the material coverings of this universe through the false ego, intelligence, mind, bodily identification, and enters into the heart. Pure devotional service is our nature. It is our birthright. It is there eternally with us, within us, a part of us. But since time immemorial, we've turned away from that. We've tried to embrace happiness in any and every other way but service of the Lord. But one is most fortunate. Brahmananda te, Brahmate, how's it go? Brahmananda te, Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. If somehow or other one gets to meet a devotee of the Lord, they are the most fortunate soul within the universe. The living entities were rotating, as it says in this verse, from planet to planet, upper, lower, middle, from species to species, totally bewildered and illusioned. But when one's good fortune finally begins, one somehow or other hears some transcendental glorification of the Lord, are the names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And spiritual life begins. Whether they realize it or not, their trajectory down, deeply embedded in this material energy turns around. And one begins their path back home, back to Godhead. There is nothing more valuable in this world than association with devotees. When we say devotees in the absolute sense, we mean pure devotees who have no other desire. No desire for enjoying this world, no desire for getting out of this world. They simply want to please Krishna. And there are different levels of pure devotees. Anyone and everyone sitting in this room should be. Certainly you should be aspiring to be, but there's no good reason why you cannot be engaged in pure devotional service, despite whatever shortcomings, conditionings, etc. may be there within you. The desire to please Krishna, the living entity, has that ability to want it at any time, under any circumstances, if he properly uses the independence that Krishna has given him. Of course, in the human form of life, that's where the independence can be acted upon. One's not simply bound up by the laws of nature as in the lower species of life. But if one has gotten that opportunity in the human form of life and even falls down to lower species of life, we have seen exceptions where the living entity in the lower forms of life can desire to please Krishna. They want to serve Krishna. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, "Let me be born as a worm rather than let me be born into the home of your devotee in any species, even let it be a worm. I would prefer that than to be born in a body of Brahma who was not practicing devotional service." When you come to spiritual realization and Krishna consciousness and you understand you're the eternal servant of Krishna, the body, the vehicle in which we ride is not considered very important. It's like today, I wore a different shirt than I usually have that blue sweater on, right? Well, this is a good time to make mention. A couple of classes ago, I was touching on the point that Krishna consciousness, someone asked Srila Prabhupada, I personally heard the question, what does it mean? How does it feel to be Krishna conscious? And immediately, Srila Prabhupada said, to be fearless. Rupa Vilas Prabhu writes of it in a book that he entitles Without Fear. So I mentioned that I saw a t-shirt that I really appreciated. Fear is not a virtue. And I thought it was so cool that I considered buying it. But it was $28. 2 classes later, right after the last class I gave, I opened up a package. And somebody gave this gift to me. Anonymously. Prabhu, Mataji, whoever you are, thank you very much. Somebody might not think it's very significant. But this movement was created by Srila Prabhupada, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, so that we could have the association. Did you notice in the word for words? Bhavat Prasanganam, to have the association of loving devotees. Nectar of instruction, Upadeshamrita, Srila Prabhupada states, I created this society so that the devotees could engage in the 6 loving reciprocations with each other. Dadati pratigranati, guyamakyati prichati, punkte bojate chaiva sadvidim pritilakshanam. What are those 6 loving exchanges? To give gifts, to receive gifts, to share prasadam, accepting and offering prasadam, to reveal one's mind in confidence and inquire about the most important thing in your life, devotional service to Krishna. It doesn't take much. We're hearing in this purport, and I'm trying to emphasize, there is nothing more valuable than devotee association. Nothing in the entire universe comes close. Because in that association you get to hear, chant, remember, and serve Krishna. The eternal activities of the inhabitants of the spiritual kingdom of Krishna, Vaikuntha or Goloka Vrindavan. And how do we associate with each other in these loving reciprocations? Because we want to please the devotees. We use the catchword serve the devotees, but we want to please the devotees. Not serve the way I want. What do you want? What do you need? How can I help you? It's about the Prabhus, the devotees, not us. And it doesn't take a lot to please the devotees. And if we're talking about pure devotees, advanced pure devotees, what to speak of the most advanced pure devotees, if you please them, they have the ability given to them by Krishna to reward you far beyond your wildest dreams. They can give you the immortality and the eternality of association with and service to Krishna and his friends and family members. Krishna has given them that ability. When Guru, Vaishnava, blesses someone, it's the perfection of life. When approaching the devotees, you can get the Bhakti Lata, Bij, the nectar, the instructions, the example of, the desire to render devotional service. Or you can get the Karma Bij. You can get the Jnana Bij. Depends what you want. But I'm going to make a point that's very subtle, and I hope you will think about it. These books that Srila Prabhupada has given us are able to empower and reawaken anyone to the level of prema bhakti, achieving shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna and rendering service unto the Lord. And if that is our only exalted Paramahamsa, pure Vaishnava association, we should be absorbed in hearing. We say reading, but hearing is more apropos. These books, Prabhupada said an hour a day. He said 2 to 3 hours a day. For the pure devotee, that nectar that he is drinking through the ears, there is no greater pleasure. It is ever increasing. It puts to shame anything and everything else. But there's a difficulty for many a devotee, and that is that we have walls, we have filters, if we have material desires that we are cultivating, if we hold on to mental speculation, being victimized, influenced by our mind and misdirected intelligence. And those walls and filter keep the potency of the blessings, the potential of having Krishna prema reawakened. The Vani is the most important. Vani means the transcendental sound vibration of the pure devotees. The written word is one form of that Vani. The recorded sound vibration is another form of that Vani. But there's something to be said about being in the presence of an exalted pure devotee when they chant. They don't even have to chant. When you're in the presence of someone who has captured Krishna within their heart, who has love for Krishna, that ecstatic Krishna prema emanates from their heart like a tsunami wave. And even if you're chock full of material desires and mental speculation, the potency of association with such exalted Vaishnavas can immediately drown out all those seeds, making them impotent. By the presence of an exalted pure devotee, you can be lifted up far beyond whatever glass ceilings your limited, your conditioned, limiting nature has placed above you. So there's something to be said about associating with the exalted pure devotees. Something to be said indeed. And it's not that Krishna gives us the opportunity to always be in such association. There's meeting and there's separation. That's part of the development of the relationship of love. But we should desire to have the association of pure devotees. The association of pure devotees is absolutely necessary at every level of bhakti, including Krishna prema. It is the root of bhakti. And when one has the association of such a devotee, I'll use an example, my good fortune of my relationship, my experiences with Janani Vas and Pankajanghri Prabhus. I'll give you some practical tips. If you're sincere, then Krishna within the heart will give you the association of pure devotees. If you are conditioned and not so sincere, you can fool others. You can even cheat yourself, bewildered, thinking I'm so properly situated. But if you're not, You can be in the presence of the pure devotees and not even have a clue. Just two ships passing each other in the night, as the saying goes. But if you're sincere, Krishna will arrange. He's happy to fulfill that desire to be given the company, the blessings, the shelter of pure devotees. And when you meet the pure devotees, we know if you want to get in their good grace, if you want to have a relationship, it's based on service. The way in which you show your love is not lip service, but it's actually putting into practice in some way, shape, or form something tangible. Use your senses, use your intelligence to please them, to show that I recognize I'm subordinate to you and I'm seeking your association and blessings. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevya. Submissively approach the pure devotees. And when you're in their company, this is very important. Don't try to force or foster, foist? Is that a word? Don't try to foist upon. Is that a word? F-O-I-S-T. See how quickly you can learn. Don't try to force upon them your mood, your consciousness. Be open to enter into the mood that they are creating.
Yes, you're right.
Foist, to put upon, right? Thank you. Let them take the lead. And when you've shown your subordination, your submissiveness, and have rendered some service, and then when you ask questions of the pure devotees, be patient. The mode of passion makes it seem like I asked a question and nothing is being said. And I've seen it so many times where Prabhus will then, try to ask it in a different way, or felt uncomfortable with the silence, as a pure devotee will sometimes contemplate the question before speaking. The pure devotees simply want to parrot or share the wisdom of Krishna, the words of Krishna and Guru, the Sampradaya, previous acharyas. Not I think, I know. No. Like with Jananivas, and a little less with Pankajanghri. You ask a question, sometimes you would wait a minute, 2 minutes. That's a long pause. Very few people had that understanding. And I don't know how many countless times I saw them, you unfortunate Prabhu, you just bounced him right out, and if you had waited a little bit longer, he would have shared some deep contemplative response to your question. I've seen it countless times. But it's something I learned. You ask a question, be patient. You're not the controller. You're the servant. If they want to answer, they will. If they don't, they won't. Very important. And the thing about the pure devotees, they are present, as it said, loving devotees. They are there for everyone. Everyone. All species. It's incredible. I can use my Prabhus as example. They literally, both of them, were modern day examples for us where we can get some indication how Rupa and Sanatan reciprocated with the Vrajvasis. Everybody considered them to be their guide, their uncle, the Baba of Vraj. They had some family challenge. If their cow had some disease, if anything and everything, what to speak of spiritual advice. But whatever it was, Sanatana and Rupa would give of themselves completely to the person, whether it's a small child, an elder of the village, or in between. What to speak of the inhabitants, the other inhabitants, the animals, the trees, etc. Govardhan, Jamuna. They were simply servants, offering their love, whatever little they would think, whatever little they can. The twins have touched the lives. Pankajanghri Prabhu touched the lives of countless people, because no matter who they were, if they approached them, they would stop and they would be present and give them their attention, their concern, and see how they could help or serve whoever it was. For neophytes like us, does this sound like something you would aspire for? When you meet somebody, you try to see the good within them? Does that sound valid? Jananivas Prabhu didn't do that. Pankajanghri either. You could tell by in his own personal, unique way, would manifest the same quality. I asked Jananivas, do you try to see the good in everybody? He said, no. He said, I just accept everybody as they are. Let that sink in. I just accept everybody as they are. You don't have some tier system. Oh, this person isn't quite to the grade, so I won't give them as much attention. Or this person, what's he even doing here? Should I allow him to even be here? This type of mentality is the farthest thing away from the loving spiritual platform of Krishna consciousness. The service attitude of the pure devotees. You know them by their qualities. And pure devotees, they don't have to wear a t-shirt to advertise what their conviction is. Their life personifies the qualities mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. The qualities of a devotee. They shine like the sun. They can't hide them, even though they try. In their humility, you just associate with them, and it is inescapable to see this person is so much more advanced than I. And when someone's more advanced than you are, you can't decipher what level of Krishna consciousness they're in. I've told that pastime of Radha Madhava swinging in the boat festival. It's supposed to be the boat festival first, and then the Julian Yatra, the swinging of Radha Madhava. And Pankajanghri looks really bad, really grave, and he looked extremely ill. But I had some inclination. I asked his brother, Pankajanghri, is he feeling bad, or is he in ecstasy? And Pankajanghri, in his own way, he just laughed. I won't try to imitate. He just laughed. Because what could I tell? My Prabhus are so much more advanced than I. But there's something interesting about the pure devotees, at least in my reciprocation with them. As they accept everybody as they are, they will also often reciprocate with you as you approach them. I very much had the desire to get the association constantly, as much as possible, to hear as much as I could, to render whatever insignificant acts of gratitude I could with them. And friendship is a more intimate relationship than servant-master. In friendship, you have superior and subordinate. It's a level, one of the levels of friendship in Sakya Ras. And I had no problem understanding my place. But they reciprocated according to my desire. it didn't hurt that I also have a desire like them to hear and chant about Krishna, Bhagavatam, Gaura Leela, Mayapur, etc. The glories of devotees. Sometimes we would speak for hours. Every morning, 5 times a week, basically, I would take breakfast with them. And they had a sign on the door. 10 o'clock, office hours begin. And people were supposed to wait, but for years and years they wouldn't. They'd just come right on in. They're taking breakfast. They knock at the screen door where they're sitting right there inside, and they wouldn't show any disturbance. They're honoring prasadam. It's actually offensive to disturb a devotee who is honoring prasadam. There's a mood. Often we would be discussing Krishna Katha, Gaura Katha, and yet somebody would barge in and voice their desire, their need, their request upon them. And they would always graciously not say anything. To me, it'd be something different, indicating some Hare Krishna. But they would say, here, please, take some Mahaprasadam. And they would insist, take the sandesh. I forget what the Mataji's name was who cooked in the manor. A Polish-speaking, what was it? Kalangana. Her standard of sweets for Radha Gokulananda at the manor was unparalleled. Her bhakti and the offerings of sweets she made, and she taught the cooks for Radha Madhava her recipes, how she did it. And the sandesh, my God, I died and went to hog heaven, as we said in Oklahoma growing up. Every day when I would be allowed to honor a piece of sandesh. And then when they would give it away. But I learned this was their selfless nature, and I should aspire for and follow their example. Be happy. Render service selflessly. And I learned, one of the reasons I think they allowed me to honor prasadam, breakfast time with them for years and years and years. I always, in the beginning they used to say, here, take, and want me to take. And I, no, you take what you want. They weren't getting increased prasadam just because a third person, sometimes a fourth person was coming. The quota was there, Nishinga Mahaprasadam, and it was what it was. And I always let them take what they wanted, and they always took less because they knew, oh, Raj wants some prasadam. They would take less than they would if I wasn't there. That always became the norm. But I always was conscientious. I didn't take the preps that they were especially fond of. Jananivas with his yogurt fruit salad. Pankajanghri offering his milk to me. I wouldn't take that which they were especially appreciative of. Always just accepting whatever mercy. And I'll share something with you also. There's always Mahaprasadam in the room. Cakes, cookies, prasadam from so many deities and temples from around the world. And they have it there to distribute. They honor some, but they distribute throughout the day. Everyone gets some Mahaprasadam. I never took without their permission. I was there so many times without their presence. But unlike a couple of my devotees, one Prabhus, one sannyasi, one elder or senior god brother, etc., come in and take whatever they wanted, feeling they had the prerogative. They had the right. They were senior. In their minds, by etiquette, okay. And the twins would never say anything. Never. But in private to me, confiding with me, they would sometimes ask, why would they do that? It's not theirs. We distribute it. And so they would show they have feelings. They have opinions. But in their reciprocation with others, it was always Trinada Pisanichena, Torora Pisahishana, Amanina Manadena. Humble and tolerant. One pastime, I won't mention his name, but he's a senior devotee, big devotee, used to be a sannyasi, been in Mayapur forever. And he would come in and he would always take what he wanted. And one morning he took some cookie and ate it. Then Pankajanghri goes, you know, you just broke a Kadashi, don't you? He goes, oh no! Don't tell my wife. Whatever you do, don't tell my wife. And me and Pankajanghri just laughed and laughed and laughed because here's this big devotee, senior devotee, but oh my God, who knows what wrath would descend upon him if his wife realized he had broken a Kadashi because of the tongue, wanting to taste that sweet Mahaprasada. Funny reciprocation. The sense of humor, it's one side of the devotees. Pankajanghri had such an incredible sense of humor. I could tell so many pastimes. And I was privy to sometimes, like I say, it takes very little to please a pure devotee. You should realize that. You should offer all you can. But if you have very little to offer like me, you're a fool. You're a clown. I was happy to put a smile and a laugh upon their face. Sometimes we would roll on the floor and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh uncontrollably. Priceless. And there's something, I couldn't tell you where it is in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, but I remember having read it and I always took to it. When you're in the presence of pure devotees, you think they're always speaking about Krishna. Isn't that what Shastra says? Pure devotees don't want to talk nonsense. They don't want to talk politics, social issues, village kata. But somewhere in the Chaitanya Bhagavata, I remember having read that in the presence of pure devotees, whatever they do or may ever speak, whatever they speak, you should understand its transcendental nature and that you will benefit in their company. Now that could be taken out of context or abused, but real pure devotees, it's not the issue. So sometimes, just like when Prabhupada would tell his disciples or his servant, about when he was a little boy and he got a gun, a toy gun. He wasn't satisfied. Buy me a second gun. Why do you need a second gun? Well, I have two hands. Priceless. This is part of the human experience that Srila Prabhupada went through, and it all comes to the point, as the title says, a lifetime in preparation to spreading this movement worldwide. So when the twins would share with me things they did before they were devotees, some of them, you would say, quite mundane. But it would be pure nectar because it helped them. It was part of the makeup of who they were. And the nice thing about Pankajanghri Prabhu, especially Pankajanghri Prabhu, he was very much like the earliest devotees of our movement. They were just nice people who happened to love and give their life in service to Srila Prabhupada. They didn't put on the airs or the behavior of what people might think a pure devotee is or a devotee is. You recognize what I'm saying, don't you? There was none of that. None of that. He was who he was. Mischievous, wise, kind, giving, humble. You could list all the qualities. Fearless. All the qualities. Jananivas Prabhu, by his nature, is what you think a sadhu, a pure devotee, would be. Because he's very introspective. He's very internal. He's very dedicated. He's quiet. Same qualities, but manifest through different personalities. And that's important. It's something I want to share with you. You want to become a pure devotee? Just add Krishna. As Prabhupada says in the purport, just listen to the glorifications of the Lord and the association of devotees. This word here, prasanganam, is used. Couldn't help but think of that famous verse. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti ritkarna rasarana kata tajjoshanada svapavarga vartmani shradharatir bhaktir anukramishati. This is Kapila Dev's teachings, 3:25-25. And there he tells his mother, in the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and to the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begins, taken from the beginning stage of firm faith on up to Krishna Prem. How? Simply by hearing from the devotees. You don't have to change your situation. You don't have to try and make yourself into something that you're not, so that devotees, others will think that you are a devotee, an advanced devotee. Be yourself. Completely under the shelter and the guidance of the spiritual master's instructions. Absorbed in the service of the devotees, Guru and Krishna. But be yourself. Krishna created you the way you are. As soul, spiritual individual, we have a unique quality that no other living entity has. It's like there are no two snowflakes alike. Inconceivable. Every one of the countless living entities has some unique quality that only they can offer to Krishna. And Krishna wants to enjoy that loving reciprocation so very much. So desire, pray, beg for the association of devotees. Associate with them properly in proper consciousness, with the proper behavior. Let them take the lead. And understand Krishna consciousness is not meant to become a business as usual. Day after day I do the same kind of thing. We should be praying and trying our best to dive deeper into the nectar that is this Krishna Katha and the science of devotional service. And praying that the Guru and Vaishnavas will point out my shortcomings to help me get beyond my self-imposed limitations. We should think when we chant. Prabhupada said we should cry like a baby crying for its mother. When we contemplate these things and pray for the ability to desire what to speak of, understand, and practice, then Krishna will reciprocate. The parent will go to the youngest child in the greatest need, crying out the loudest. Krishna will reciprocate. But if we're not anxious, if we're not dying to render pure service to Him, He can take His time too in reciprocating. Guru can take his time. because you get what you want. You actually get far more than what you want, but the saying has validity. You get out of devotional service, you get what blessings you put into service to Guru and Krishna. It's reciprocal. Small investment, big reward, but it is reciprocal. If the desire is not very great, then it can take a long time. If there's nothing more burning, more important in your life than attaining that complete absorption in hearing, chanting, and serving, then very quickly. And then the patience is the name of the game, waiting for the mercy. You follow the example of Pankajanghri Prabhu and Janani Vas Prabhu. They gave their lives. He is giving his life in service. No other meaning, no other purpose. And when you have met and established a relationship with such devotees who have given you gifts beyond your wildest dreams, incalculable, invaluable gems from the treasure chest of Bhakti, then when Krishna arranges the separation part of the loving reciprocation, then you will feel the grief. You will feel the pain. You will feel the loss. I'll read something that our Prayojana Acharya, Raghunath Das Goswami, wrote with the passing of Sanatan. Where'd it go? Sanatan and Rupa Goswamis. He writes, I won't read the Sanskrit. After the disappearance of Sri Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das gave up eating. And from that day on, drank only water. When he was separated from Sri Rupa, he then gave up water and maintained his life simply by calling out to Radha and Krishna. Now that may sound impossible, but Srila Prabhupada showed us by his example. He went months without eating and, practically speaking, without drinking. And yet the life was sustained by the spiritual potency of service to Krishna, by the sanction of Krishna. Raghunath Das did the same thing, feeling the grief, the pain, the loss of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami's association. When Sri Rupa disappeared and Raghunath could not see any of Sri Rupa's followers, then he sorrowfully wept in separation. Then he prayed, today in the absence of Rupa Goswami, Vrajabhumi seems completely empty. Giriraj Govardhan looks like a large snake ready to swallow me. Even Radha Kund looks like a tiger ready to devour me. But I still live. So it's something we're all going to have to experience if we're serious in Krishna consciousness, and it's Krishna's loving mercy. It's the package to be able to have some understanding and gain entrance into the teachings of the Goswami. Hey Radhe Vrajadevi Kecha Lalite. Hey Nanda Suno Kata. Where are you? Are you the banks of the river Jamuna? Are you on Govardhan Hill? Radhe, Krishna, where are you? This is the highest state, the highest peak of loving Krishna consciousness, service to Krishna, that one can be benedicted with. That's the gift Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya came to give us. Are there any short, quick questions or comments? Thank you for your association, for your attention, for your offering your lives in the service of Guru and Vaishnavas to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki.